I was reading an article the other day that said New Zealand has the fattest kids in the world. I was reading another article that said New Zealand has the highest rates of childhood drowning in the world. So you know what that means, don't you? Our fat kids are too lazy to even float. The PC police are going to love me tonight. Yeah. So it's election year this year. Is everybody excited? Woo! Yeah, I can tell. I'm really excited because we've got such a great, variety in candidates. We've got one rich idiot named John Key, who lives in a mansion in Hawaii. Another rich idiot named David Cutler, who lives in a mansion in Auckland. And another rich idiot named Materia Ture, who lives in no shit, a castle in Dunedin. And they all talk about how, how hard it is to be poor. I love hearing about how hard it is to be poor from people who live in shit like castles and shit. But yeah, this election year, I've decided I'm voting for one issue and one issue only. It's a very serious issue to me. I'm going to vote for whoever decides to ban families and children from public places. Yeah! Yeah, go on the teachers in the room, they're like, yeah. But I'm 23 and I'm sick of not being able to do shit that I want to do. Like, I live alone and I can't smoke marijuana in my own house because there are children somewhere that might break into my house and smoke it somehow, and that'll cause the apocalypse. Marijuana should be legalised for a few reasons. One, I say so. Two, we could get $1 billion in tax. Three, and stop our young people getting stupid drug convictions and not being able to go overseas. Four, we've got legalised prostitution in this country, legalised gay marriage, legalised gambling, and all this nature shit that everybody loves. If we legalised marijuana, is the one that I wanted to legalise. If we legalise that, we'd be beating tourists away with sticks. Yeah. Although people in the Cargill already are beating people with sticks. Nobody really gives a shit about politics at all, but I like being a Kiwi. I think we're a silly country with a silly history that I really love. I love coming from a country where the closest we ever got to civil war was over a rugby game. I like coming from a country where the only time we ever had terrorist activity was when an allied country bombed us. I like that, the biggest conspiracy we ever had was who gave the All Blacks food poisoning. I love that, the former Minister of Education, Trevor Mallard, straight after doing a speech on anti-bullying, goes and punches Tawana Henare in the face outside Parliament. Because he said mean things about his wife. Judith Collins this year at the Big Gay Out, when asked about the Greens' plans to spend $3 billion improving cycling in this country, well, those punters aren't the only ones being fucked in the arse tonight. Is that PC? I'm not sure. Okay. Or we had Winston Peters, the herpes of New Zealand politics. Every 3 years people think they've got rid of him, and then every 3 years he comes back. You'll never ever get rid of him. You've got Auntie Helen. I love Helen Clark. I've got all her rap albums. When I was 15, I couldn't get my first job. I said, you've got to have a job to get references, but you've got to get references to have a job. So I was thinking, who could you use to be a good reference? So realistically, I thought, Helen Clark, the Prime Minister of the country. So I got a second phone and, I gave the phone to the boss, and one day I get a call. G'day, Helen speaking, because that's how she would answer her phone. And Corey the good bastard, he's great. I wouldn't have won 2005 without him. He does a lot of stuff. The funniest thing about that is I got the job. He didn't buy it for a second. Then, we've got John Key, who doesn't seem to remember anything. But I can't make fun of John Key because people actually like him for some reason. We've got none of these people, none of them compare to old Rob Muldoon. Oh, my favourite. This man would start, my fellow New Zealanders, and he would end these speeches with, if you're hungry, you can go eat fucking grass. Live on the TV. He, during a trade meeting between New Zealand and the United States, he told the President of the United States, don't you fucking look me in the eye. You're nothing but a common peanut farmer. He hung up the gams, told the Queen to go fuck herself, and fired journalists on TV. These aren't the fucking questions I told you to ask. And his greatest quote I feel was, New Zealanders who immigrate to Australia raise the IQs of both nations. But anyway, you know, I had a lot of mental illnesses. I've got Asperger's, ADHD, a whole bunch of crap. But I'm really, really happy that I never got the worst mental illness in the world. I never got diagnosed with religion. Oh, no. I'm going there. When I was a kid, like my parents, you know, I was a bit of a handful. My parents used to send me away to these, you know, respite care places and these camps in like Living Springs. And the only people that would ever do them would be, you know, the bog standard God followers. And they'd make you sit down for 6 hours whilst they give you lollies if you can quote scripture. Total brainwashing. But I remember they would sing great songs like, Jesus is the rock and he rolls by blues away, bop, do bop, a bop, bop, do bop. And my favourite, raise Jesus higher, 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 higher. Push Satan lower, 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 lower. Right. And Simon Barnett owes me money. You know, the More FM DJ. He came to one of these camps one day. He's like, if anybody wants to give themselves to God, I must tell you all, we're only 5 or 6 at the time. But, you know, he goes, if anyone wants to give themselves to God, I'll give them $5. So, you know me, he's like, oh, you don't have to say it out loud. It's a very private thing, your relationship with God. So I'm thinking, yeah, cool, free $5. So while everybody else is doing that, dear God, whatever fucking mumbo jumbo shit they do to actually talk to God, I was thinking Charmeleon, what or two, but YouTube, tentacle, aerodactyl, armadite, slow bro. I think that's a pokeraps. Anyway, who else thought when a plane went missing? Somewhere, somehow, Jetstar had to be involved. But that was until we found out it was actually in the air. No Jetstar plane's ever been in the air. You know, in the United States, there is a website called thewhitehouse.org where you can sign petitions, and I've got to go, so you guys have a great night.